And to me, that's one of the biggest tells for me. It was like, you don't even hear yourself. And I used to tell my children it was my BS meter. You know, my kids are really young and they're like, Dad, that's one of the biggest. Nope, that's BS. I caught you. And they're like, that's not cool, Dad. But the body and the voice, all of it does come together, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely so. Again, Rich, I don't think we'll be able to do that. Okay, you heard a different tonality that time that alters the message ever so slightly.
Yes.
But in a negotiation, especially one in which high stakes are being discussed, that additional small tonality downturn in voice could indicate the person is less skeptical about the deal that's being spoken of.
Right.
I mean, so there's so many nuances that are conveyed through body language, tonality, word choice even. Had I said, Rich, I'm unsure if we can continue. Now, that time I didn't say we can't do it or things of that nature. And so, again, small, slight change in words casts a different perspective about my mindset for where we are in the negotiation and what I believe can be accomplished.
Now, you talk about those slight little modifications. What about power moves? There are those. I've been in the room. You've been in the rooms. We've been in the C-suite together. Some people just power moves are their thing. They know if I land that a certain way, I can change the whole dynamic of our conversation. How important are power moves during all this?
Well, Rich, tell me a little bit more about that.
Or when they get up out of their chair and they walk around, and you know, it's amazing how many people do it to try to leverage their position and status, right?
Oh, definitely so. What about the hands on the hips?
Hands on the hips.
Make yourself appear bigger, larger, you know? So, yes.
These are all intimidation power moves, right? These are the inflate themselves, but to intimidate you to lower yourself, correct?
Yes, exactly. And dependent upon with whom you're negotiating, their position versus yours, meaning their negotiation position versus your negotiation position, you may let them think that they are getting away with their attempts to intimidate you. Why would you do that? Because you want to see exactly what else they will do in order to continue down that path. And then at some point, I mean, you may even play, and I have done so in many negotiations, I'll play the meek and mild person. I mean, look at the body language. I'm slouching, slumping in the chair and everything else. I'll play that role. And then at some point, again, depending upon what we're negotiating and where we are in that particular process. Okay, now, Rich, one of the things you said that I may take exception with, different, people will go, whoa, what just happened?
Right.
You know, it's definitely a mind-altering paradigm that causes them to shift the way they interact with you.
Are people aware that we're doing this to each other back and forth when you're in negotiation, when you're in board meeting? Are people really that conscious aware, or is it afterward they realize, I got played?
Oh, okay. You scratched the back of your head as you said that. Exactly.
Intentionally, I did. That's what we're doing.
And here's the thing. I got played. The whole perspective of that statement, along with the gesture, says, yeah, I was really behind in that particular situation. And to the question of, do people realize it? Sometimes they do in real time.
Right.
And they're not aware of what they're sensing, what they're experiencing. And thus, to the degree that someone heightens their sense of awareness, they become more aware of what's happening at the moment. But even more so, Rich, the way to be more alert to such is during the planning stage of a negotiation, of a talk, of an interaction with another individual. I suggest people go through a role play scenario in their own head about what might occur in that interaction, such that they are prepared to observe what to notice, what to look for, how they're going to get things back on track if they should by chance get off track.
So go and prepare for this stuff to go down. Be ready. Exactly. Because if you're caught flat foot, they're going to steamroll you most likely.
Yes, exactly, for sure.
Now, what about reading the room? some people are really good at that. They're masters, and they're able to say, I want to talk to them. I want to avoid them. They can see where the energy is. How important is reading the room now?
Extremely important, especially for those of us that are speakers such as yourself. Rich, I'm sad to say, I've seen some folks not only go past the allotted time that they were supposed to speak, at the same time, I mean, people are getting up and walking out of the room.
Right.
People are like, oh my gosh. And they're droning on.
Yes.
And it's like, do you realize what's happening? Are you there in the moment, in the room? Hey, wake up!
Yeah.
You know? So it's extremely important for not only speakers, but anyone that wishes to communicate effectively to be observant of how their message is landing and how it's being perceived.
People just are not aware of that dynamic of owning the stage, owning the crowd, owning a room. It's really important, isn't it?
Oh, definitely so. And you spoke about the dynamics. And that's the phrase that I'm going to hang on, because there are shifting dynamics that occur in every environment that we're in. No matter what that environment is, it's shifting.
Yes.
And again, when you're speaking, you definitely should be observant of the shifts that are occurring per, once again, how your message is landing and how it's being perceived. If by chance, especially as a professional speaker, you're speaking and you notice that you're losing the audience, again, you should have prepared for something that you're going to do to wake them up. Truth be known, I'm not 100% perfect in all of my environments. One of the things I've done, though, when I realize I'm losing the audience per their lack of engagement, I'll pull out a $100 bill and I'll say, tell me what this represents to anyone in here. Now, all of a sudden, people go, wait a minute, that's a $100 bill. Oh, let me see what's going to happen next.
Yes.
So you do something to bring them back to you, and then you continue past that point. But you have to capture their attention if you sense you're losing it, in order to make sure they're attuned with you.
Well, and for those of you dating, all these apply to your dating life as well. These are all important to learn when you're out having that date, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Well, the smile, the eyes, again, the facial expressions are so important, especially now they're all virtual. Because a lot of people are just doing this. You're only, and some people are still just doing this with only the face, but that's a whole different conversation. But the way to read a virtual room is so important, to be engaging, communicate, hold people's attention, share information. And I think people are really missing the mark virtually. What can we do to help those people?
Well, first of all, no matter what environment you're in, ask people to turn the cameras on.
Yes.
I've been on webinars where folks have had their cameras off. And again, who would like to receive a free whatever? Please turn your cameras on so that you can be entered into that drawing or whatever. Or if it's a small enough group, let's say a group under 50 people, I'll say something along the lines of, hey, for all of you that turn on your cameras, you'll get XYZ. And the XYZ is something I know they want.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two, being observant in a virtual environment of what's going on. Once again, to the degree that you can, you're actually using the host of the show as your barometer, meaning that host is posing questions coming in from the group. So you know the level of engagement, and or to the degree you can see the number of boxes and people, I scan for reactions. You know, if I tell something that I think is funny
Right.
and they laugh, I'm like, okay, they're with me. If I tell a joke that I think is funny and people are like, you know, smiling as almost a frown is about to appear, I know it was like, at least they're still engaged. And what they're doing is saying, that wasn't that funny. But nevertheless, they're engaged.
Yes. Well, one of the things that I've heard is, and through virtual, is if someone's up, you need to go up with them and keep your energy congruent to theirs. Do you agree with that we should maintain the same energy, or just be ourselves with that?
It depends on where you are in the presentation. People will ask me all the time, what are the body language gestures that you should observe? What are some of the cues that you should take note of? And I always say, it depends. Because there may be a time For example, if I'm going to tell a sad story and the energy level is already here,
Yeah.
I'm intentionally going to lower the temperature with the tone of my voice
Yes.
and the speech pattern and pace, such that I'm changing, back to your word, the dynamics
Yes.
of that particular environment.
Well, and the use of your voice, again, as we said earlier, is so powerful. People underutilize storytelling, the power of your voice. It really does blend into the whole body language thing so beautifully when you know how to really orchestrate it very well.
Exactly, 100%. And for those that don't know how to do so well, learn how to do so.
Now, I'm going to poke fun at the two of us for a second, so play along with me here, but we're culturally different. Did you know that?
Somewhat. We can talk about code switching, but nevertheless, go
You're
ahead.
white and I'm black. No. Is there a body language thing that we need to be aware of? Because some people get really uncomfortable when you even mention the racial differences in a room. Some people just, you can feel it. It goes right through them. Like, don't even say it out loud. But how do you deal with that when it's part of reality that we have to deal with it and also pick up on the cues that are racially different than what I'm used to?
Mhm. And I would say something along the lines of when the temperature starts to rise a little bit, yes, we may be somewhat concerned with racial differences. And I would actually ask you, so Rich, exactly what's your perspective on racial differences? What I'm doing there, of course, is to get your meaning, your direct definition of what it means, and then I have something to align to if I choose to do so. But you may have noticed I used the same hand gestures that you were using a moment ago. So subliminally, I'm already connecting with you.
Well, I've done a keynote and I've talked about growing up in Indiana, multi-ethnic. I mean, like basketball with black guys, Hispanic guys. We played with everyone. Did not care where you came from. When I moved to Georgia and I did that same keynote, I was told very quickly, don't talk about that the same way down here, folks. And I did not think about it at all. It did not register that how they view that racial conversation is not how Elkhart, Indiana dealt with that. How can we do better? Because those are landmines. Those can decimate you if you trip on those like I did. What can we do to do better with this?
First of all, be aware of your audience. Always be aware of your audience. That's number one. Jokes I've told in the US don't land as well in Europe. Definitely not as well in Asia, not in South America. So I've become very cognizant of the audience to whom I was engaging and engaged with. Also, if by chance before you get to the environment you have a conversation about the do's and don'ts, as you and I talked about backstage today, okay?
That's why we do that.
Yeah, exactly. You then know what the guidelines are per the expectations of the host that has invited you into that particular environment. And you might even go a little bit further because let's say you want to bridge that racial gap. Let's say you really
Yes.
do want to. And you say, well, why is it of importance not to bring that up? And the person says, well, because of XYZ. And you may ask that individual, and does the audience feel the same way about XYZ as you just cited? Well, some do, some don't. Okay, now what you're doing is getting additional information
Yeah.
about, okay, I hear what the person is actually saying. Do I want to delve into this? Is it important enough? Might I do something that can engage the audience that creates a higher level of enlightenment in them, and thus I become perceived as a more added value per the presentation I've delivered? Those are thoughts that one is weighing in their mind. Now, if the host, the producer, whatever says, absolutely positively do not speak on that subject, done. Okay, we're finished. Okay, good. I got your message, type of thing.
I'm curious now, you did do that body language consultant for the TV reality show Love and Hip Hop New York. First of all, how did you get drug into that, man?
Okay. How do I phrase? I've been in 3 Hollywood movies. So I'm somewhat known as a body language expert in that industry.
Okay.
And the producers reached out to me from Love and Hip Hop New York to ask if I would consult per the body language that should be displayed. Now, remember, this is a reality show,
Right.
right? Reality is what you make it.
And they're not scripted at all. No.
Yeah, no, not at all. So, not to give away any secrets, and I'll leave it at that. But basically, that's how I was engaged to actually address that endeavor.
Did you find that fun to
Oh
walk in those
my.
celebrity settings and go, that's what's going on here?
And for that reason alone, Rich, to really get the behind the scenes peek into such an environment, oh my goodness gracious. There are stories that I would tell you off camera that I can't repeat on camera, but some of the things that went on were just like, eye opening for daggone sure. And hey, reality TV is what you make it. So,
You've also been named on a couple pretty big, hefty lists. Leader Hum has named you in the Power List. The Power List of the 200 most prominent voices in leadership. And that's a pretty big bump to say, pay attention to this guy. What does that mean to you to have those kind of awards, accolades by your name?
my mission in life is to give to others such that others can improve their life. What those accolades do is they serve as a form of recognition for the value add that I'm putting out into the world, number one. And number two, the fact that appreciation is being shown. Now, I would do the same thing as I'm doing to enhance the lives of others without the recognition. Goes back to grandma. Okay, don't you don't have to
Always
tell
go
everybody
back
how
to
good you
grandma.
are. Just show them type of thing. Yeah, it goes back to her. But daggone sure, I have received numerous awards, and I'm a very low keyed person. I've received numerous awards that I never speak of. You don't see me on social media saying, "Hey, look at me! I'm doing this, that, and the other." That's not me. Grandma said, "Hey, show them. You don't have to tell them." Plus that, Rich, I have had clients that have flown me into a country. I've been there for one day, advised them on how to increase their negotiation strategy, their plans, yada yada yada, and fly me out the very next day, never wanting anyone to know I was even in the country. And yeah, and I'm like, okie dokie. Now, here's the other side of that coin. My body can't take those long 15-hour trips anymore, being in a tube that long. So it's like, hey, we'll discuss that virtually, but no, I'm not flying. I'm getting too old for that stuff.
Now, we've all had that negotiation or that conversation that gets pretty aggressive.
Mm.
And some people, literally, again, it shows in their face. Their head's going to explode. The veins are popping. What's your advice for being in negotiation with that? And again, it's so easy to read it, to see it. What can you do to either de-escalate it, navigate that? Because some people just aren't thinking. When they get there, the words are coming out so fast, you don't know what they're really saying and why.
One tactic I use, let somebody rant and rave, get it out, and then just say, thank you. And I had a guy one time, I mean, he was going off. And when he finished, I said, thank you. His response was, and I don't use four-letter words, but I'll use just a slight one in this particular case. He said, what the hell do you mean, thank you?
He wanted to get a rise. He wanted to get a reaction out of you.
Yes, exactly. And I said, thank you for your perspective. I appreciate it. And he looked at me. And by the way, that head tilt, by the way, is a body language sign of inquisitiveness. Okay. He looked at me and he said, well, okay, well, at least you understand my point of view. And I said, yes, I do understand your point of view. Synchronized with the body language
Right.
And the words. It changed his whole demeanor, which, go back to your word again, changed the dynamics of the negotiation.
Well, that's like just pouring water on it because you're not reacting, you're not biting on it. You even had that calm voice coming through, and they don't know what to do with a calm, cool reaction when they're looking for the trigger. They're looking for the push.
Exactly, exactly. Some negotiators will create red herrings in the form of negative, irate body language gestures along with the tonality to try and intimidate you and or to see how you will react to it so they'll know if they can continue down the same path. And again, don't give it to them. Take it away right away such that they know, well, okay, I can't get a rise out of this guy. Let me try something different. And you wait and see what they might try to do next.
Lately, I've been telling people through my coaching is you have to learn how to show up on camera, obviously, because I work in that field, but you're always on camera now. From the door ringer to your kid's cell phone, to the guy walking the dog, to you doing your Zoom calls, we're always on camera. That means there's footage of you everywhere now. Is it harder or easier because there's so much footage to really understand the body language, the real intention now?
Be yourself, be authentic. And I say that to say, I just mentioned a moment ago about gathering someone's baseline for how they react in a particular situation.
Yeah.
I've had clients that have had me sit in on negotiations. My appearance was to be a note taker at the end of the table. Meanwhile, what I was really doing was observing the body language of those on the other side of the table to indicate who were the real power players who may have been offering someone else as a facade for that position and why they were doing so. Someone sits at the table and they go, well, I think we can do this. And they look at the person beside them. They're asking for permission. And it's like, okay, you just gave away some of your inside information. So being on camera is something that we should be aware of at all times, simply because if you're your authentic self, you will do what you do when you do it, no matter what environment you're in while you're doing it.
What got you into this? What got you into studying people to the point where like, BS, truth, I know it, I can see it. What got you into this?
Oh my gosh, Rich. And by the way, you notice I keep touching my nose, right under my nose. I have a cold. So I say that to simply say, that's why you need to watch Cluster of Actions too. But back to your question. When I was a little boy, at 4 years old, and I know it was 4 because I had not started school, my parents allowed me to shine shoes at the corner bar, which was only like 3-4 doors away from the house. And I used to observe how I would interact with someone if I'd ask a gentleman, shoe shine, sir? And they'd say, some would say, no. Some would say, no. Some would say, no. Okay, different ways. Now, I was only 4. Not recognizing the fact that I was literally observing their responses, which made me alter my approach to them. I would then, for the ones that would say no, I would say something along the lines of, shoe shine, sir, so your shoes will look a lot better for the people in the bar. And they would stop, look at the shoes, and they would actually give me a nickel, a dime, or whatever to shine their shoes. It was from that perspective. And I watched my mother, my grandmother, literally negotiate for everything. And I picked up all kinds of tactics, just observing my mother to the point that she'd say, as she was about to hand someone the money, well, can you do just a little bit better? And pull the money back, It was little things like that, Rich, that I just paid attention to. And just it took to me as I took to it.
I know one of your books has the word bully in it.
Ta-da!
There you go.
Yes.
We all have those bullies. We always have those people that just want to push your button.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a special tip for the bullies in our life?
Yes. And I took a sigh because people will bully you to the degree that you allow them to. That's number one. I remember stories about gangsters. And there was one particular gangster that was really small, a small kid. But when people tried to bully him, he'd fight back. He'd get the slop beaten out of him, but he'd fight back. And that gave the perception of him a new persona that others had about the fact that, okay, let's not pick on this guy. And of course, as he got older, people had more respect for him, et cetera, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. But again, I go right back to what I said. People will only do to you what you allow them to. And thus, with a bully, you have to show some pushback, lest the bully become emboldened to keep engaging you in the manner that they are.
It's amazing how often we give people the authority to walk on us.
Oh, yes, yes. Rich, I love when people say, you made me do such and such. And I'm like, really? Thank you for anointing me with that power.
But isn't that because they're reading our body language? Whether they know it or not, they're reading our body language so they feel they can walk on it. It's innately in some of us.
Yes. 100% again, Rich, for daggone sure. Because if someone approaches me and they do so in a threatening manner, puffing themselves up, looking angry or something of that nature, and I start to pull away from them, I'm telling them through my gestures, okay, your efforts to intimidate me are working. If, on the other hand, I stand there and I even look slightly, here's that puzzled, inquisitive look again, like, what are you getting ready to do? Chin out? Okay. It's again like, yeah, what? Type of thing. And people then may take a different position, a softening position with you.
Wow. Dr. Greg Williams, here's your website. You've got 7 books. What else is on your website? What else can you tell us if people want to go check this out?
Again, I'll reiterate the fact that I love to give away information from which people can increase the benefits and their life's activities. I have posts that I write at least one a week in the free blog or blogs that are completely free that give all kinds of insightful information. And just if anyone ever wants to reach out to me, Rich, and I'm going to say this with caution, do so and I will respond. Sometimes, depending upon what I'm doing, it may take a little bit longer than it otherwise would.
Hit the QR code, go check that out. And Dr. Greg Williams, great. One final question for you, though. Final impressions. Your negotiation, you're wrapping things down. You want to land the plane. You want to make sure you drop the mic and you stuck it. What can you do with that body language stuff to leave that lasting impressions of confidence, assurance, and we're good?
You can achieve all the negotiation outcomes that you want to achieve. I know you can do it because now you have the information to do so. Just remember, you're always negotiating. Now, Rich, you saw a little acting coming out there.
Oh, yeah.
Or good, bad, or whatever be the case. But still, I used the tonality of my voice to say to whomever I was speaking in that particular situation, you've received some information now. I planted that subliminal thought in their mind that, wait a minute, I'm a little better than I was before. And the mic drop part comes in with, you can do this. Notice the synchronization between the pointing and the voice. I always tell people, speak on a rhythm that people can dance to.
Yes.
And boy, oh boy, they get captivated by that.
Love it.
And remember, you're always negotiating too.
Dr. Greg Williams, thanks for taking the time to be on Rock the Stage. This is a pleasure, man. Long overdue.
Rich, it was my pleasure, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Rock the Stage, another great conversation. And again, you really don't know what's ever going to happen here. But the guests come locked and loaded for a good conversation, a few laughs along the way, but hopefully negotiating is a little bit better for you. Hopefully you now understand how you can flip the room around, understand how to connect with people, and handle even those tough ones. Those tough ones are never fun, are they? Hopefully Dr. Greg has helped you out here a little bit more today. Remember, he is the master negotiator. Hey, come back next week. Join us again at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Rock the Stage Show, another in-depth, unscripted conversation. And as always, you never know who's going to show up and we're just going to get it out. It's always a lot of fun. We'll see you back here, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, for another edition of Rock the Stage Show.